Magical warfare begins with a scene where there are lovers who are high school students. They were walking to school. The male student is Takeshi Nanase, who attends kendo extracurriculars, while the female student is Isoshima. It was actually a school day off, but Takeshi came to school for kendo practice. Arriving at school, Takeshi went straight to the dojo where he practiced. When he was about to open the door to the room, suddenly a woman named Mui Aiba opened the door and fainted. He immediately took her to the school infirmary, but that day, the school was closed so no one was on guard. After he put her on the bed, she was delirious and shouted, saying "Brother, don't go," and hugged Takeshi. But when she woke up and opened her eyes, she got angry at Takeshi and pointed at him with a gun. When Takeshi wanted to ask about her condition, she suddenly fell on top of his body and accidentally kissed him. But Mui again pointed the gun at him and shot Takeshi with magic light. Not long after, a man named Suganashi Aiba came with a sword. It turned out that the man was Mui's older brother, but he said that he didn't know Mui and he wasn't his brother. According to Mui, his brother's memories have been rewritten by the ghost trailers. Not long after, 3 other students came to the infirmary. Then when Takeshi intended to take Mui to escape through the window, Suganashi turned the window frozen so they couldn't get out. He said that he didn't intend to attack them, he just wanted to trap them. However, a man named Oigami wanted to capture Mui, but was blocked by Takeshi. He immediately took out a wooden sword to fight him. Even though Takeshi only used a wooden sword, he managed to defeat him. When Oigami was getting angry, Takeshi's right eye suddenly released a magic symbol, and made him able to defeat Oigami until his sword bounced and shattered the frozen window. While outside the school, there is a male student named Kurumi Isoshima who has just arrived at school because he got a schedule to attend remedial classes. While walking towards the school building, he saw Takeshi running with Mui. However, there were 4 other people who were after them. A female member named Hotaru Kumagai suddenly confronts Kazumi by releasing her magic power through her weapon in the form of a syringe. On the other hand, Takeshi and Mui, who were running, then finally stopped. Mui said that she and those people were magicians. Then she apologized to Takeshi for accidentally turning him into a magician too. Mui explains that every human actually has magic power, but when humans begin to grow up, their magical abilities will disappear. However, when humans have interacted with magic since childhood, then until adulthood they can become magicians. So, Takeshi was able to gain magic power against Oigami because Mui had shot him with a magic gun while in the school infirmary, and he could win against Oigami with that magic. Mui also explains that Suganashi is currently experiencing memory loss because his memories have been rewritten by the ghost trailer. People who are with the ghost trailers are called a community of magicians. They want to change the world because the ghost trailers don't like it when magicians always hide their existence from humans. Meanwhile, Mui is a magician from the Subaru Magic Academy, and there, the students were taught how to coexist with ordinary humans. Soon, Isoshima approached them with a jealous face, followed by the presence of Oigami and the bespectacled man who managed to find them. Oigami invites Takeshi to fight again. He says that he and Takeshi are both evasion magic users. It turned out that the magic symbol that came out of Takeshi's eyes earlier was a type of evasion magic. Oigami explains that the magic can make the user dodge various enemy magic attacks. Takeshi also asked Mui and Isoshima to stay away. Suddenly, the bespectacled man used his magic to attack them. Mui immediately protected her, but Isoshima was slightly hit by the magic attack. But strangely, after attacking them, the bespectacled man fell and looked in pain. The pained Mui said that the bespectacled man was subject to a punishment called gift, where if a magician attacks another magician in the human world, then the magician will lose his magic. Because the human world, or what is known as the living world, is a cursed place for them. Takeshi also asked why Mui, who also attacked him in the infirmary, was not hit by a gift. That's because when she attacked Takeshi earlier, he was not yet a magician. Then Takeshi and Oigami started fighting again. Oigami was the first to attack him, and they fought without using magic. Isoshima's hand turned out to be slightly hit by a magic attack from the bespectacled man, so she became a magician too. Unexpectedly, Isoshima's chest expands, and Mui explains that her magic power is shape-shifting magic. Not long after, Kazumi came carrying Hotaru in his arms. It turned out that she was hit by a gift after attacking Kazumi with her magic, and then she fell unconscious. Because Kazumi was attacked using magic, he also became a magician, and he had destructive magic in his right hand. Seeing his friends defeated, Oigami went berserk and attacked Takeshi. However, Takeshi used evasion magic to evade his attack. Takeshi, who used magic against Oigami, wasn't gifted because he didn't attack him, he just dodged the attack. When Oigami is about to attack Takeshi and clash swords, Mui shoots the gun at Oigami so that the gun's light dazzles him without hurting him. Thanks to Mui's help, Takeshi was finally able to fight Oigami until he vomited blood and passed out. After that, Mui invites Takeshi and his friends to live in the magician's world because they are all now magicians. They also follow Mui. It turns out that the way to the magician's world is through a mirror. However, the magical world they saw seemed to be a mess, so the magical world was called the Destroyed World. Mui took them to the Subaru Academy and immediately treated Isoshima's hand there. Then they went to the principal's room, which turned out to be a woman of the same age as them named Momo-tan. Amidst the confusion of Takeshi and his friends, Momo began to explain something they didn't know. 16 years ago, there was a war in the magician's world where the Ghost Trailer organization first appeared with great power, led by Ryusenji Kazuma. The organization has the goal of destroying the human world with a magic called Last Requiem. Luckily at that time, there were 15 great magicians who could prevent this by dividing the world into 2 parts, so that the Last Requiem attack only hits the magician's world, or now called Destroyed World, while the human world or the living world remains safe. Since then, an agreement was formed between the magicians, where they would only fight in the magician's world, and the winner could rule over the human world. As punishment for the magicians who broke the agreement, a wise man had cast the gift spell on the human world. But there are only 6 ancestral magic that cannot be used in the human world, namely evasion magic, illusion magic, destruction magic, black magic, acceleration magic, and shapeshifting magic. Momo also said that, after using the Last Requiem magic, their leader fell asleep forever, but rumors said that he had died. Momo then gave them 2 choices, whether they would stay at the Subaru Academy and learn how to use magic, or give up their magic and return to the human world. Isoshima invites Takeshi to return to the human world, but he chooses to continue studying magic. It turned out that Kazumi also agreed with his choice. In the end, Isoshima was forced to follow them. After that, Momo took them to a room where novice or C-class magicians were. However, Mui, who was already in high class or S-class, was asked to accompany Takeshi and his friends to C-class. This was also a punishment for Mui because she had fled to the human world in search of her older brother. The next day, the 3 new students were immediately asked by a male teacher named Hidoji to show their respective aspects. Aspect is the name for the object used by magicians to cast the magic of their ancestors. Isoshima chose her lipstick to be aspect, Kazumi chose his skull ring, but Takeshi didn't have anything to be his aspect. Then, Hidoji asked Mui to take Takeshi to the store to look for objects. While on the way, Mui told him about the gun she used as aspect since she was in 6th grade. She also gave her aspect the name Arthur. The other magicians also gave their respective aspects a name as a sign. She also said that she and Tsuganashi were pure-blood magicians, which they got from their parents who were also magicians. They arrived at a hardware store whose owner was an old man nicknamed Pops. She asked Pops for help to give aspect an evasion magic that matched Takeshi. Because Takeshi told him that he likes kendo, Pops gave him aspect, which is a sword. Pops also said that the previous owner of this sword also possessed evasion magic. It turned out that the sword's owner was once one of the 15 great magicians who now chose to live without magic. Takeshi saw that there was a magic symbol on the hilt of the sword, which Mui said was a symbol of evasion magic. Pops said it was actually dangerous to use aspect that had been combined with the previous owner's ancestral magic. It was even possible for Takeshi to lose his hand, but since his magic and the previous owners were the same, the sword was relatively safe for him to use. After that, Pops tried to attack Takeshi to lure him to activate his magic, so that Takeshi's magic power was absorbed by the sword. It turns out that the sword has a special power, whereas Pops says that it can make Takeshi use other people's magic. Pops also gave 3 bullets to Takeshi so he could put someone else's magic into the bullet which he could use through his sword. He said that the previous owner named the sword Twilight, and after that, Takeshi and Mui went back to class. Arriving there, they were confused by the condition of the class that had been destroyed because Kazumi couldn't control his destructive magic. The next day, Hidoji explained to the 3 new students that in the magician's world, there were more than 50 magical communities. However, there are only 7 communities that become international magician associations, or the 7 strongest wizard associations, namely Wizard Brace, Eclipse, Club Oz, Ancient Pendragon, Spriggan, Bishop of the Camelot, and Phoenix. Although Ghost Trailers is also a powerful magician community, they never mingle with other communities, so they cannot be included in the list of international magician associations. However, Ghost Trailers only thinks its strongest rival is their community, or Wizard Brace. It turns out that currently, Mui has joined the Wizard Brace community, centered on this Subaru Academy. Many other members dislike her because her brother is a traitor. Hearing this, Takeshi remembered his older brother, Gecko Nanase, who was currently not getting along and even called Takeshi a traitor. A few days later, they were back in class. At that time, Takeshi and Mui seemed to be getting closer, which made Isoshima jealous and made their relationship awkward. The next scene is a flashback to Takeshi and Isoshima's past. The two of them had been close friends since childhood, and they had only pretended to be dating because Isoshima has a very beautiful face, and so many men at her school and from other schools bother her. Then they promised to break up if one of them meets someone they love. At Takeshi's house, Gecko and his mother were having dinner together. They had thought that Takeshi and Isoshima were just transferring schools to another city and living in the school's dormitory. Gecko told his mother that he and Takeshi should make up soon. Flashback scene to 2 years ago, when Gecko and Takeshi's relationship was still close. It turns out that they were both friends with Isoshima. At that time, Gecko liked Isoshima, and he was angry after learning the rumors that Takeshi and Isoshima were dating, until the two of them had a fight, and Takeshi accidentally pushed Gecko until he was hit by a car. The scene returns to the present. It turns out that Gecko said that because he just wanted to pretend in front of his mother. Actually, he is still very angry for taking Isoshima and making his legs disabled. The next day, Mui secretly meets a female fortune teller to find out where her brother is. The fortune teller takes out her card and tells her that he is at a place right now, and she immediately looks for him that very night. After that, Kazumi was seen filling Takeshi's bullet with his destructive magic, but he failed and couldn't channel his magic yet. Then Isoshima came and told the two that Mui had been missing since last night. Isoshima only found a map circled by Mui and indicated that she had gone to that area. Takeshi also told Hidoji about Mui's whereabouts. Hidoji can only regret her actions because currently in the destroyed world, there is a large-scale battle going on with the trailers. Besides that, the principal is also not at school. Then Takeshi, Isoshima, and Kazumi got together to talk about Mui. Takeshi will still look for Mui because according to him, her position is the same as him, which is hated by his brother. When he was about to leave, Kazumi also wanted to come with him, then followed by Isoshima, who also joined them. Finally, they went through the mirror portal to the destroyed world version of Tokyo. There, they met a mysterious figure in white robes who asked them to return to the academy because it was a very dangerous place. The figure was the guardian of the box or mirror portal they had passed through. But Takeshi still went and didn't listen to the guard's words. At the same time, it appears that Mui has managed to meet her brother, but at this time, she is being attacked by him. It turns out that Mui has fallen into the trailer's trap because the fortune teller is one of the ghost trailer members. Suganashi, who still couldn't remember Mui, immediately took her to the trailer's headquarters, but he knocks Mui out first so she doesn't know the way there. However, before she was taken away, Takeshi and his friends arrived at where Mui was. Takeshi, who was already feeling very angry, immediately attacked him, and he also attacked Takeshi with Liberate's ice power, while Takeshi used dodge moves to block all the opponent's attacks. Then Suganashi used Icy Castle's ice drop magic so that Takeshi couldn't dodge anymore. Suddenly, Kazumi pushes Takeshi's body so he doesn't freeze, but as a result, Kazumi gets hit instead. Takeshi tries to destroy the ice, but he asks him to focus on saving Mui and leaves him. It turns out that currently Kazumi is returning the favor to Takeshi, because his younger sister was saved by Takeshi when she was bullied by thugs. Meanwhile, Takeshi, who kept trying to break the ice, was always blocked by Suganashi. Takeshi panicked even more when Isoshima said that Kazumi's current condition was getting worse due to running out of oxygen. Knowing this, Suganashi further hinders Takeshi from helping Kazumi. But thanks to the power of evasion magic, he managed to fend off all of his attacks and direct the ice chunks towards Kazumi so that he was free. After that, Takeshi entrusted Isoshima and Mui to Kazumi, while he continued to chase Suganashi. He also asked Kazumi to try again to channel his destructive magic into Takeshi's bullets. At the same time, Isoshima also managed to heal Mui. It seems that she manages to control her magic. On the other hand, Takeshi is still fighting against Suganashi. He tried to make a protective shield, but it was still so weak that Suganashi's magic could still penetrate it. Then, Kazumi told Takeshi that he had almost finished casting his destructive magic. Suganashi, who heard it, did not stay silent. He immediately attacked Kazumi. But luckily, Mui and Isoshima managed to make a shield to protect him. After he finished, Kazumi immediately threw the bullet at Takeshi, and he immediately used the aspect into his sword so that his aspect was able to release fire, and managed to defeat Suganashi. After that, a male trailer member named Washizu Kippe came to save Suganashi. Seeing Suganashi was helpless, he immediately took him away from them. When Takeshi and his friends arrived at the Subaru Academy, they went straight to Momo. She was furious with them for breaking through to the destroyed world dimension. Takeshi felt confused seeing Momo's injured body, but Momo didn't want to talk about her wounds. She kept her focus on scolding them. Momo asked them to promise not to go there again, and Takeshi replied that they couldn't promise because Mui would definitely come there again to save her brother. He also said that he would continue to help Mui until her dream came true. Unexpectedly, his answer made Momo feel melted and give them a chance. On the other hand, Kippei was talking to the female fortune teller named V, who framed Mui yesterday. Kippei tells her that someone fought Suganashi using the Twilight Sword. It turns out that V is a ghost trailer spy who works at the Subaru Academy under the name Violet. Kippei also asked V to find the Twilight Sword user. A few days later, it was time for the ancestral magic test for the novice class. Hitoji asked the students to head to the city made with illusion magic, to see how far they could reach the city with a large building as the final boundary of the city. And then, the test began. They immediately rushed to the city. However, the road to the city is not easy because Hitoji has made various traps and obstacles. The students then decided to split up. While scattering, Takeshi accidentally saw Oigami, who was wearing the Subaru Academy uniform, but surprisingly Oigami didn't recognize him at all. He also asks why Oigami, who is a member of the trailer, is at their school. Oigami only replied that he was wrong and left him. Meanwhile, Momo was monitoring their exams with Hitoji. She said that this year's many talented students were injured during the magic exam. Then Momo asked Hitoji about Oigami. He replies that Oigami's memories have been rewritten to allow him to side with the wizard Brace and help them fight the ghost trailer. The students' next exam will be tested based on the magic power of their ancestors. So for magicians who have the power of shapeshifting must pass the labyrinth test, while the test of the owner of the destructive magic is dealing with the zombies. Those possessing acceleration and evasion magic also have to pass their own test. On the other hand, without them noticing, 3 members of the ghost trailer had arrived at the Subaru Academy. They immediately made a space erasing magic so that Takeshi and his friends gathered in one place, namely in the labyrinth. There, Isoshima is seen being helped by Oigami, who is almost hit by a test robot attack. Isoshima was surprised as to why he was at their school, but he couldn't remember it at all. Shortly after, the injured Oigami disappeared from there. Kazumi, who was in the labyrinth, met Isoshima, until finally Takeshi and his friends gathered there. They decided to work together to get out of the labyrinth and head to the big building. But the testing robot blocked them again. Takeshi and Mui's attacks did not work against the robot. It turns out that the robots have been strengthened with magic power. Kazumi had prepared a magic bullet, but he misdirected the throw. Mui and Isoshima also tried to divert the robot so that Takeshi could take the magic bullet. The robot immediately attacked Mui and Isoshima. Then Kazumi came and hit the robot with a fire blow. On the other hand, Takeshi managed to take the bullet and put it on Twilight's sword. He immediately slashed the robot until its body was destroyed. It turned out that the person who gave magic power to the test robot was V, because she wanted to see how much power the Twilight Sword was. After knowing the power of the Twilight Sword, V leaves, saying that she will not let anyone have the Twilight Sword, because only she can have that sword. Long story short, the new year is almost here. Isoshima invites Takeshi to come home and celebrate the new year with their family, but he refused because he didn't want to meet Gecko. Then Isoshima was angry and left him. The funny thing is that Kazumi said that the husband and wife relationship was indeed complicated, so it made Mui feel jealous to hear that. Finally, Isoshima decided to return to the human world alone. She wanted to celebrate the new year with her family. Suddenly, Gecko comes to Isoshima's house to wish her a happy new year, and invites her to go pray at a temple. Before going to the temple, Isoshima asked Gecko and Takeshi to make up, but Gecko said that it was Takeshi who had been away from him all this time. Unbeknownst to them, Suganashi and Kippei are in the human world and are watching them. On the other hand, Takeshi, who chose to stay at school, trains every day with Mui. After the two of them left the training ground, V disguised herself there to pick up a strand of Takeshi's hair that had fallen. A few days passed, and Isoshima seemed to have returned to the Subaru Academy. She accidentally met Oigami while in the library. Isoshima then thanked him because he had helped her during the exam. Unexpectedly, Oigami immediately approached her and held her chin. She was embarrassed and left from there. At the end of winter, Momo informs them that there will be an operation to capture Suganashi and restore his memory. She also invited Takeshi and his friends to join the operation. Some magicians have also been chosen by Momo to carry out the mission. Momo then gave Mui a sealing magic bullet so she could catch Suganashi without hurting him. After that, she made a magic portal for them. Then Oigami and Hotaru appeared to be present to carry out the mission. When they arrived in the destroyed world, Suganashi and Kippei were already there. It turned out that their meeting had been arranged by Momo. and they had agreed to make an exchange between Suganashi with Hotaru and Oigami. But Hotaru looks confused because her memory has been rewritten, so she thinks that she is part of the Brace Wizard. Then Oigami realized that during the exam, Takeshi said that he was part of the trailer, so he agreed to return to the trailer. But before leaving, he gave Isoshima something that might be of use to her. Then Oigami and Hotaru were escorted by Momo walking toward Kippei. The exchange was done. Suganashi finally returned to being a member of the Wizard Brace, even though he didn't remember about himself. However, Suganashi instead attacks the members of the Wizard Brace. Luckily, there is a female teacher who has water magic to withstand the attack. 2 Wizard Brace magicians immediately made a black hole to confine him, but thanks to ice magic, he was able to escape and managed to injure the 2 magicians. Suganashi finally left and was chased by Mui. The female teacher immediately healed the 2 magicians, but seeing Mui go after Suganashi, she asked Takeshi to accompany Mui and chased Suganashi as well. On the other hand, Momo was already preparing to face Kippei. Before they became enemies, Kippei turned out to be Momo's senior. It turns out that she has a personal grudge against Kippei because he has killed a magician named Bidaka, but Kippei denied it. Momo, who didn't believe his words, immediately attacked him with black magic. Kippei also countered her attack with his destructive magic. He said that his power could destroy everything in there, including Momo's body. She didn't care and immediately attacked him with her magic power until they clashed. As a senior, initially, Kippei could surpass Momo, but she didn't give up and trapped him with space magic and blew him there. Suddenly, Momo's head was bleeding from Kippei's destructive magic attack earlier. It also shows that Kippei is not dead. Sure enough, Kippei was back in front of Momo. He said that time had passed for 8 minutes, and it seemed that Momo had been hit by his destroying magic. Kippei also said that the leader of the ghost trailer named Kazuma will soon rise so that her dark past will be revealed as well. Momo didn't care about his words. She immediately made a black hole that could suck anything into it. Then Kippei went into the hole, while Momo fell because she had been hit by Kippei's destroying magic a lot. On the other hand, Takeshi and his friends arrived at a building made of Tsuganashi's ice magic. Kazumi, who had already been able to control his fire magic, tried to destroy the building, but Suganashi had made a lot of traps and attacked magic there. Finally, Takeshi and Kazumi teamed up using magic bullets that had been filled with Kazumi's fire magic. But Takeshi was hit by an explosion instead because Kazumi wasn't concentrating enough when he entered the magic. Takeshi returned to take his Twilight Sword, but his hand was frozen by Tsuganashi, until Mui had to face Tsuganashi alone. Finally, Tsuganashi and Mui faced each other. He immediately attacked her until she fell down. When he was about to attack her again, suddenly there was a fire explosion from Kazumi's destructive magic, so Kazumi and Takeshi could help Mui against him. Mui was still trying to resuscitate her brother until she cried. Without realizing it, Tsuganashi also shed tears. Seeing this opportunity, Mui uses the sealing magic that Momo gave to attack him. The scene then changes to the Subaru Academy. There, Momo was seen being cared for by a female teacher. Momo managed to survive Kippei's destructive magic, but she had to rest for a whole month. Meanwhile, in the Subaru Academy's medical room, Tsuganashi was seen there. When he woke up, Mui immediately hugged him. It turned out that Tsuganashi's memory had also been successfully restored. On the other hand, Kippei is also seen returning to the ghost trailer headquarters and managed to escape from Momo's space magic. Then V met Kippei with 2 new candidates to become members of the trailer magicians. She slightly mocked Kippei who had lost Tsuganashi. Hearing this, he was angry and immediately killed 2 candidates who were brought by her, until Kippei finds a new candidate who is still a secret. The scene then shows Takeshi who is suddenly in a pool of blood. Then Isoshima comes and helps him, but she is instead caught by a flying monster and taken her away. But it turned out to be just a nightmare from Takeshi who soon woke up. He felt that the dream seemed real. When Takeshi was asleep, the Twilight Sword absorbed the light from Takeshi's body, and then there was a woman in a white dress who came to him while he was still asleep. The next night, Takeshi had another dream, but this time he was in the clouds. Then, there was Mui running toward him, but she wanted to go to the giant pudding behind Takeshi. But when she reached for the pudding, she fell from above the clouds. Takeshi, who had a bad dream, woke up from his sleep and then went out of the room and met Tsuganashi. Takeshi said that lately, he had bad dreams. Tsuganashi replied that nightmares could happen because of magic, but if he was curious, he could ask the female nurse at the school named Hyodo. The next day, Takeshi was surprised by Mui's sprained leg because she fell in the cafeteria while queuing for pudding. Suddenly, Takeshi fell and was unconscious. He had a strange dream again. He saw there was Kippei with the girl in the white dress. Hyodo, who was there, even caught a glimpse of the girl in the white dress until she forcibly woke Takeshi up. Hyodo also scolded him for not telling her about his dream, because Takeshi could have died because of the nightmare that came from the Twilight Sword. The nightmare that Takeshi had was nightmare magic. That magic can make a nightmare come true. Hyodo said that he should put away the Twilight Sword when he was going to sleep. If the sword absorbs Takeshi's magic continuously, then he can die. At night, Takeshi kept his Twilight Sword near him when he was going to sleep. As a result, he had another nightmare. The next day Takeshi was asked to meet Momo in the principal's office. Momo asked him to hand over his sword if he didn't want to obey Hyodo's instructions. Takeshi asks if he can change the future that will happen when the nightmare returns. Momo explained that the girl in the white dress that he often saw was the human from the Twilight Sword itself. To get rid of his dream, he must be able to beat the girl in his dream. But it was not an easy thing because Takeshi had to spend a lot of energy and magic power. But if Takeshi loses, then he will die. But Momo promised to take care of Takeshi and would not let him die. After that, Momo took Takeshi to the infirmary to put him to sleep, and Mui would also help him. Momo explained that the relationship between a magician and his aspect was like the relationship between a parent and a child. Once they meet, they can't escape. Then Momo and Hyodo teamed up using their magic to help Takeshi. Without them knowing, V was watching them from the building room. When Takeshi was asleep, he dreamed of meeting Mui. Suddenly they both moved to a beach where there was a girl in a white dress sitting on a swing. But just as Takeshi was about to approach, they suddenly moved again to the iceberg. There, Takeshi saw his mother apologizing because she had no other choice. When his mother mentioned Gekko's name, the figure immediately disappeared. Then Takeshi got an attack from Gekko while carrying a magic sword named Angel. Then Gekko's figure turned into the figure of a girl in a white dress. The girl said that Takeshi was unfit to use the Twilight Sword. When Takeshi and the girl in white were about to fight, they were both seen wielding the Twilight Sword. But the girl in the white dress can wield the Twilight Sword better than him, even she can change the shape. Mui, who helped Takeshi, even got an attack that made her strength decrease. If Mui cast too much magic, she could die. The girl in white asked Takeshi to give up, but Mui forbade it. Then the two of them fought again, but in the end, Takeshi lost to the girl. Then Takeshi remembered Momo's words that the relationship between a magician and his aspect was like the relationship between parent and child that couldn't be separated. So he immediately apologized to the girl because he never gave her what she wanted. So far, Takeshi has only used the Twilight Sword without acknowledging its existence. Even the name Twilight was a gift from the previous magician. Then, Takeshi said that he named the sword Toa. Finally, the girl turns into a sword again and admits that Takeshi is now the new owner. 1 month passed. At that time, the Subaru Academy was preparing to admit new students. Kazumi seems to bring his younger sister named Hida Futaba to the Subaru Academy. He said that when Futaba was on vacation, they had an argument. Kazumi, who felt annoyed, accidentally released his magic power that hit Futaba's hair. As a result, Futaba is now a magician. Then Takeshi and Isoshima were surprised because the next person to register was Gekko. Isoshima also asked why he was in Subaru Academy. He only replied because he wanted to become a magician and then just left. As time passed, it seemed that the relationship between Takeshi and Gekko began to improve. The two of them often practiced together. When Takeshi and his friends were about to have lunch together, Hidoji came over and looked at Gekko with his magical gaze. Hidoji advised Takeshi that he should be a role model for Gekko. Then Hidoji seemed to be watching them from behind the wall while thinking about what he should do. That night, Takeshi had another nightmare. He dreams of meeting Gekko, who looks angry and says to stop taking everything from him. Gekko also threatens that he will take Isoshima and Twilight Sword. Then Takeshi woke up and saw Kippei was already in his room. Kippei came just to talk about history. He had his own version of history that was different from the one taught by the academy. In the Middle Ages, there was chaos caused by magicians attacking each other. In Kippei's story, the Wizard Brace organization is the villain. The organization has a monopoly on magicians. They don't allow people outside their membership to use magic. Wizard Brace also wants the power of Kazuma, the Ghost Trailer leader. When Kazuma was still studying at the Magic Academy, he was always invited to join as a member of the Wizard Brace. At that time, Kippei and a man named Tsukiyomi, who was a good friend of Kazuma, suggested he join the Wizard Brace, because later, Kippei and Tsukiyomi will join them. But Kazuma refused because the Wizard Brace would only use himself as a tool to win the war. After that, Kazuma was asked to meet one of the top men in the Wizard Brace. He threatens him by holding his parents hostage to get him to join. But Kazuma actually killed the man until finally, both of Kazuma's parents were also found dead. Since then, Kazuma rebelled and fought the Wizard Brace. His goal in forming the Ghost Trailer was to save the magicians who were threatened like he used to be. Hearing Kippei's story, Takeshi also asked if Kazuma had killed many magicians during the war. Kippei replies that Kazuma only kills wizard brace mages who have killed many other mages. At that time, a great war was going on between the ghost trailer and the wizard brace. Until the war was about to end, Kazuma had to deal with one of the 15 great magicians who had previously owned the Twilight Sword, a woman named Yoko. But when Kazuma was about to attack Yoko, she was unexpectedly protected by his own best friend, Tsukiyomi, until Tsukiyomi was killed by Kazuma's Requiem magic. And what is even more surprising is that the previous owner of Twilight was named Chigi Yoko, but when she chose to live in the human world, she changed her name to Nanase Yoko, who is Takeshi's mother. Kippei also said that Tsukiyomi was Kazuma's best friend, but he fell in love with Yoko and betrayed and even died to protect her. Takeshi also asked why Kippei told him all these things. He replied that he wanted to invite Takeshi to join the ghost trailer. He immediately rejected the offer. Since Takeshi refused his offer, he asked for the Twilight Sword with the excuse of remembering the love between Tsukiyomi and Yoko. Takeshi refused to hand over the sword. Then Kippei gave him time to think about whether he would join the wizard brace or the ghost trailer. The next day, Takeshi went straight to Momo and asked if his mother was a magician from the wizard brace. Momo confirmed it, then the magic symbol in Takeshi's eyes activated. Takeshi did not continue his question and chose to leave from there. Meanwhile, in the ghost trailer community, Kazuma is seen starting to wake up from his long sleep. That way, the next big war between magicians will occur. On the other hand, while Takeshi was contemplating at his school, suddenly, there was a great shaking there. It turned out that the shaking was caused by a red dragon that had appeared in Takeshi's dream. The dragon immediately attacked them with a burst of fire. Luckily, the students managed to escape. Simultaneously, a group of people in red robes appeared on the school grounds. Here, it is seen that many intruders at the Subaru Academy are disguised as students. They immediately attacked the students, including Kazumi, who was looking for Futaba's whereabouts. Seeing the chaos, Takeshi was looking for the whereabouts of Gekko with Isoshima. Meanwhile, Mui looks for Tsuganashi. On the other hand, Hitoji seemed to be attacked by Gekko. When Mui was going to look for Tsuganashi, she was confronted by 3 people in red robes. Shortly afterward, Tsuganashi came and managed to protect her. Momo was visited by 3 people in red robes, but she immediately knew that they were from the Pendragon community who decided to team up with Ghost Trailer. One of the members of the Pendragon created a space so Momo couldn't use her magic power. But when she was about to be attacked by one of them, their magic couldn't be used either. It turned out that Momo's black magic was very strong, and she managed to remove the space created by the Pendragon. Momo also said that she was just pretending she couldn't use her magic, even though she had made a small hole to absorb their magic. As a result, it was the 3 people who had to enter Momo's black hole. Not long after that, V also opened her disguise in front of Momo. V took out a creature called Valkyrie which immediately attacked Momo. Then V took out her creation named Wyvern in the form of a giant red dragon. In the school's infirmary, Hodo was seen treating students who were injured in the attack. Then Kazumi was taken to the infirmary by Mui and Tsuganashi. Meanwhile, Takeshi and Isoshima finally met Gekko. At that time, Gekko admitted that he was actually a member of the Ghost Trailer. He immediately attacked Takeshi with a very fast movement. Takeshi was overwhelmed, even though he had cast evasion magic. When he fell, Gekko stabbed him in the shoulder with his sword. Isoshima immediately protected him, but Takeshi asked her to leave because he was going to fight Gekko. But Gekko said that he would not kill Takeshi, he would only take the Twilight Sword that V wanted. Gekko will also invite Isoshima to join the trailer. This is what Gekko does so that Takeshi feels the same as him, which is to feel the loss of everything. Then, Gekko showed the extraordinary power of his sword which could turn into wings, so he could move quickly. After Takeshi fell, Gekko forced Isoshima to come with him, but she refused and ran to Takeshi and kissed him. After that, Isoshima's shape-shifting magic was activated until she resembled Takeshi's form. Seeing this made Gekko so jealous that he viciously hit her who resembled Takeshi. Until finally, Gekko managed to take Isoshima and the Twilight Sword away from there. As Takeshi faints, he is met by the human form Toa, who informs him of the future that Gekko will soon kill his mother. Mui, who was looking for Takeshi, finally managed to find him. But V was there too. Mui immediately points her gun at V, but she took out her magic card that could spawn monsters. While Mui was fighting, V immediately took Takeshi's body away from there. Seeing this made Mui want to chase after him, even though her position was being pressed at that time. Just as the monster was about to attack her, suddenly there was a magic power that attacked the creature until it was crushed. It turned out that the magic came from 3 women in red robes. They immediately made wind magic to attack V until she ran away and released Takeshi. Then Takeshi came to his senses, and the three rogue people approached them. It turned out that the three people were magicians from the Camelot community. One of them is named Kisaki Aina. Shortly after Tsuganashi arrived at Mui's place, it turned out that he and Aina already knew each other. Aina is Tsuganashi's ex-girlfriend. Takeshi also tried to stand up, but he had no strength at all until he finally fell. They also made magic to bring Takeshi to Camelot's infirmary to be healed. As Mui was about to leave, she found Isoshima's fallen object. It was a gift from Oigami when they did the member swap. Meanwhile, Takeshi, who was in Camelot's treatment room, began to wake up. The treatment room was in the human world. Not long after, Kazumi came to visit Takeshi and immediately told him that Futaba had been taken by two people wearing black suits claiming to be from the Inspection Bureau. When Kazumi wanted to get close, they attacked him. Mui explains that the Inspection Bureau is part of the wizard brace to keep an eye on magicians with extraordinary abilities. She also said that Tsuganashi advised not to deal with them. But Takeshi tried to calm Kazumi down by saying that for now, Futaba was safer with them. Then Tsuganashi and Aina came to Takeshi's room. He said that currently, everyone who was injured had been secured at the wizard brace's headquarters. Meanwhile, Mui and Kazumi are tasked with taking care of Takeshi until he recovers. That night, Takeshi couldn't sleep because he was worried about Isoshima's condition. He also tried to escape from the hospital, until Takeshi accidentally saw Tsuganashi, who was arguing with Aina. Aina said that Camelot was a special community of magicians, and wanted Takeshi to leave immediately. However, Tsuganashi asked her for help so that they would accommodate Takeshi for a while, because if Takeshi is taken to the wizard brace's headquarters, he will be forced to join the war even though his body has not recovered. Then Aina was willing to persuade her boss to accept Takeshi. Hearing that, Takeshi finally gave up his intention of escaping from the hospital. In a castle, the Ghost Trailer and Pendragon groups are gathered together. Then Kazuma told them all that now was the time for them to open the forbidden door. In the evening, Kippe came to a house and slaughtered the people there. It turned out to be the home of the Wise Man, or the Great Wizard who cast the gift spell in the human world. Before killing Wise Man, Kippe informs that Kazuma will finish off Wizard Brace and all 7 members of the community to start a Magician World Revolution. Kippe finally kills Wise Man, so the curse of gift disappears. After that, the battles of the magicians could take place in the human world and in the destroyed world. The next day at the hospital, Tsuganashi and Aina were seen visiting Takeshi. Tsuganashi said that currently, 7 communities are uniting to fight the Ghost Trailer until it reaches the human world. Then, Takeshi recalled the image of the future when Gecko tried to kill his mother. So he asked Tsuganashi and Aina to accompany him to meet his mother. Aina gave a letter written by the leader of Camelot to Yoko. The letter contained his request to Yoko to train Takeshi. But Yoko replied that right now, she was not a magician, and she didn't want to get involved in their troubles. However, Takeshi also said that he wanted to become stronger so he could save Isoshima. Finally, Yoko was willing to train him. Eventually, they took Yoko to the Camelot hospital. Upon arrival, she immediately gave training to Takeshi. Yoko is given a ring by the leader of Camelot so she can temporarily use magic. His mother asks if the reason for wanting to become strong is simply because of Isoshima or if that power will be used against the Ghost Trailer as well. But Takeshi answered actually he was still confused which side was right. He also felt that the war that was going on had nothing to do with him, but since the Ghost Trailer has kidnapped Isoshima, Takeshi has to fight them. After that, the training began. To practice dodge attacks, Yoko asked Takeshi to close his eyes, then she would attack him. In the afternoon, Takeshi talked with Mui on a bridge. He expresses his concern for Isoshima, but he doesn't know where she is. Then Mui showed Isoshima's thing that had fallen. It turned out to be a magic item used to teleport so they could head to the Ghost Trailer's headquarters. Meanwhile, at Ghost Trailer's headquarters, Isoshima appears to have just woken up, but when she looked in the mirror, she was surprised because at this moment, she was in the form of Takeshi. Then Gecko came to meet her. At that time, Isoshima just remembered she had changed shape after kissing Takeshi. Then she immediately changed her shape to her original form. Isoshima, who always defends Takeshi, makes Gecko angry and destroys the room, until Isoshima was scared and ran away from the room and met Oigami. Isoshima also asks him for help to protect her from Gecko. Then Oigami invited her to go to his room. At that time, Oigami told her that his memory as a trailer had returned, but he still remembered all the events when he was in the wizard brace. Not long after, Hotaru came to Oigami's room. Isoshima immediately asked the two of them for help to return to Takeshi's place. Meanwhile, Takeshi was currently contemplating. He thought back to when he lost the fight against Gecko. Then Tsuganashi and Aina came to him. They asked if the current Takeshi was strong enough to fight the trailer. He just replied that he didn't care about the war because he only wanted to save Isoshima. While in Oigami's room, Isoshima was seen talking to Hotaru. Hotaru says that she wants to help her, and she doesn't like Gekko because he is a new trailer but can be Kippei's confidant. Oigami and Hotaru took Isoshima away. Hotaru said that the castle was Pendragon's, which was created using magic. The place can also change every hour. Then, they accidentally met Gekko. Oigami immediately faced Gekko alone. Gekko then saw Isoshima who was hiding, but she immediately kissed Hotaru so she could transform into Hotaru. When Gekko manages to find her, he only sees Hotaru's embodiment. She also said that Isoshima had run away, so she managed to trick him until she only went with Oigami. Just as the two of them were about to leave the castle, suddenly Kippei asked Oigami to leave, so Isoshima had to continue her escape alone. However, she was just running around in circles in the castle. Isoshima, who felt exhausted, accidentally wiped off her lipstick until she changed to her true form. After that, Isoshima accidentally went to a dark room and met Kazuma directly. He invites her into his portal. Kazuma took her to a room, and she just realized that the man was the trailer leader. On the other hand, Takeshi and Mui seemed to have finished their practice on the field. Takeshi said that he was ready to go help Isoshima. Then, Kazumi also came there. He said that he and Mui were ready to help him. Finally, with the object Oigami gave them, they teleported to the trailer's headquarters. Soon, Oigami and Hotaru came to confront the three of them. Oigami immediately confronted Takeshi, while Hotaru was ready to fight Mui and Kazumi simultaneously. Then Hotaru let out a big shot, but Kazumi hit her first so she fell. Then ruthlessly, Kazumi banged his head on her. After Hotaru loses, Mui tries to help Takeshi, but is stopped by Oigami. Takeshi tried to attack him, but Oigami had such a strong barrier that even the sword Takeshi used cracked. Then, Mui fired her magic at Takeshi, which was immediately absorbed by him, so that he managed to destroy Oigami's shield. Even though they are enemies, Oigami and Hotaru tell them that previously, they had tried to help Isoshima, but now they have lost track of her. After hearing his words, Takeshi decided to return to the human world, because there was something he had to do besides saving Isoshima. Arriving in the human world, Takeshi immediately ran to his house, because that day was the day Gekko killed his mother in his future view. But he was too late, because Gekko had already left the house covered in blood. He was surprised when Gekko brought the Twilight Sword. Gekko said that he didn't kill their mother. Then, the sword transformed into a girl in a white dress who was chained. Gekko treated the girl like a pet. The girl then followed Gekko's orders to attack Takeshi until he was blown away, and after that, he turns Twilight into a sword again. Gekko also wanted to convey a truth to Takeshi. When Gekko had an accident 3 years ago, he didn't get thrown into the car due to Takeshi's push, but actually, it was the bishop leader of Camelot who wanted to kill him on his mother's orders. Takeshi didn't believe his words. However, he also asked why their mother wanted to kill him. Gekko didn't even know what the reason was. She didn't want to talk even though he had threatened her. Inside the house, it turns out that Yoko is still alive. She remembers the past when she had the power like Takeshi. She had a bad dream about Gekko. At that time, Yoko just said that she had to do something. Gekko and Takeshi fought in the air. In this battle, it seems that Takeshi has grown stronger to keep up with Gekko's speed. It wasn't long before the trailers interrupted their fight. Luckily, the wizard Brace troops got there just in time. Suganashi, who was appointed as the leader of the troops, ordered the Brace wizards to prepare. So did Kippei, who was on the trailer side. While Takeshi and Gekko resumed their fairly even fight, until Gekko asked Takeshi to kill him because he didn't know what to do next because their mother wanted him to die. Gekko also said that maybe Takeshi didn't want to forgive the misunderstanding between the two of them that had occurred so far. Takeshi replies that Gekko should get out of the trailer and go home with him. Then he deactivated his magic and reached out to Gekko. However, it turned out that Gekko was just pretending and prepared to stab Takeshi. Suddenly, Isoshima comes and protects him with her body, so Gekko's sword pierces her body. Mui, who saw this, immediately came to her and healed her. Takeshi also entrusted Isoshima to Mui while he and Gekko continued their fight. On the other hand, Isoshima seemed to have come to her senses and told Mui the truth. Meanwhile, Takeshi, who was filled with anger, attacked Gekko repeatedly, making him overwhelmed and fell. Takeshi, who was already in a rage, said he would end it all now. But Gekko managed to get up again and said that Takeshi had taken everything, until they returned to fight until a white flash of light came out. Meanwhile, Mui is seen crying because Isoshima has told her the truth. And finally after that, Momo came and immediately made a big black hole to stop the war. But Takeshi and Gekko seem to have disappeared from there. In another place, Kazuma was at Takeshi's house and healing Yoko. Oddly enough, he called Yoko his mother. He comes there with V. Then Kazuma also asked why V always faithfully accompanied him wherever he went. She replied that it was because Kazuma had once saved her. Kazuma said that a new world had been created, then he took out a photo of Isoshima. The next scene shows that Takeshi was already at the Subaru Academy, but he felt confused because the building was completely restored. He also saw that his mother and Hitoji were teachers there. Takeshi was even more surprised when he saw the flyer that read 1998, which means he was in the past. There, Takeshi saw that Kippei and Momo were still students at the Subaru Academy. And soon, Kazuma and Tsukiyomi also came. Surprisingly, Gecko was there too. Takeshi was also surprised to hear their conversation that they had been friends with Gecko for a long time. In the final scene, Gecko talks to Takeshi that he has been waiting for him. The anime ends. A little explanation at the end of the story. The Kazuma who woke up was Takeshi from the past, who turned into Kazuma. That's why he called Yoko his mother. The moral that can be learned is not to be a vindictive person, because everything that happens could be just a misunderstanding.